Hi. How are you guys? Let me see. I'm on here. Welcome to our live stream training today, much anticipated. We are doing the BRRRR for Beginners comprehensive guide, start to finish, what the process looks like, every step that you need to know. There's a lot of content in a short amount of time, so I'm going to go pretty quick, but I will leave some questions open at the end. If you have questions throughout the live stream, make sure that you just leave them in the comments. Either myself or Lizzie on my team will answer. I'm going to give everyone a few more minutes to hop on. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me, where you're coming from. Normally I show up on the page. Do you guys see me? Got a heart. That's a good thing. Okay, there we are. All right. Well, cool. Thank you so much for being here. Like I said, we're doing BRRRR for beginners. If you don't know what the BRRRR method is, it is a method of investing in real estate that involves purchasing, getting it renovated, getting it rented out, you refinance it, and then you repeat that whole process. So this is the exact method that I have used to build a portfolio. When I started BRRRR, I was like 11 or so doors, and we just closed on number 70. So that is in less than 3 years. So the process is awesome. It's an incredible strategy. So let's hop to it. Okay. Well, little of that's cut off, but we should be good. Okay. So like I said, I am Jessie Lang, and I'll give you a quick story. If you've been here for any period of time, you've probably heard this, but for those that haven't, I'll give you the quick version. So I did not grow up with any money. This is, owning real estate is something that I never in my wildest dreams believed was even possible for me. But with the right people and mentorship, I learned that it was possible. So 2010, I grew up in Austin, Texas, graduated college, bought a house, did all the things you're supposed to do, got a big girl job. I bought a little condo. I had some roommates. Like I said, this is the fast version. Had some roommates, and they were paying my mortgage, and it was pretty cool. And I was like, hey, this real estate thing is pretty awesome. So over a couple of years, I actually bought a couple more properties, two to be exact. So at one point I had 3 rental properties with, renters in place with long-term renters in place. And then I also had roommates at the house I was living at. So I was doing pretty well. This is on top of a W-2. So instead of taking it seriously in 2016, I quit my job and I went to go travel the world for a year. And it was incredible. Highly recommend. If you can swing it, definitely go travel. It'll change your life. I met my gorgeous wife. I met the company that brought me to Columbus, Ohio, where we moved in 2017. Then 2018, this whole time I'm at, 18 months, I'm at the job I moved here for, but I'm going to real estate meetups. I'm talking to everyone that I can. I am learning different strategies like the BRRRR method, but I didn't really take real estate seriously. I had dabbled in it, but I wasn't serious until 2018. And I quit my job and I went all in, head over heels into real estate full time. And I did not make money for 6 months. It was really stressful. I was trying to wholesale, and, of course there's a learning curve and a pipeline. So finally started making some money. For those first 2 years, I was full-time real estate. I was keeping everything because that's all I didn't have any money. That's all I could do. So I was keeping everything, and I was saving. And anytime I got any substantial amount of money for down payment, I was buying a rental property. Well, this was taking a really long time. This was the slow path for sure, is putting 20% down. But I really didn't know that there was a different way. So 2021, January 2021, I was introduced to the BRRRR method. And it like blew my mind. It all clicked that this is how people are buying rentals at a pace that would actually provide financial freedom instead of just 1-2 a year, right? So I got really serious about the BRRRR method. We had about 11 doors at that time, just closed on number 70, like I mentioned. So that was since January, less than 3 years ago. We've scaled at that speed, and it's all because of this method. So 2022, I started teaching other people how to do the same, and it has been absolutely incredible. Honestly, the thing I'm the most proud of in my career ever is this community that we've put together. So ultimately, I am just a traveling, pet loving puzzler from Texas. Little bit of a nerd, love my family, love our pets, kind of a bit of a homebody. And I am just a regular person who hacked a strategy, got good at it, got good at networking, got good at deal flow, and put together, a portfolio that's I'm very proud of. So I want to just tell you a little bit about my story to show that this is not some, elaborate, crazy thing that is not achievable. Like if you understand the process, then you can own rental properties too with very little of your own money. And let me show you how. So let's hop into the method. First, a couple of benefits of owning real estate. We've talked about these before. The first 4 are really, really common. So you're going to have your cash flow, your monthly profits. You're going to have your appreciation, natural increase in value over time. You're going to have principal reduction, meaning every time that the mortgage is paid, that your balance that you owe goes down. And this is someone else paying your mortgage, which is pretty cool. You have your tax advantages, and then the bonus is your cash out refi. And that is the method that I'm teaching today. So if you're just buying, regular, you don't really have this benefit of cash out refi, but with the BRRRR method, you do. So we'll go into it. What does a typical deal look like? So to qualify for like a conventional loan with 20% down, you have to really jump through hoops with these lenders. You have to have a W-2 job or 2 years of tax returns if you are self-employed. You have to have near perfect credit if you want any sort of, competitive terms. And then the kicker here is the 20% down. So unless you've saved up, depending on your market, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, then you're not really able to buy using the, conventional loans. And then the process can take, 45 days is pretty standard. I've seen them take, longer if there's any underwriting hiccups. You need a full appraisal, a full inspection, and there's like tons and tons of paperwork. So this is what I was doing. I didn't know that there was a better way. I was buying, the typical conventional way. And then I was introduced to the BRRRR method. January 2021, everything changed. What is the BRRRR method? It has nothing to do with snowflakes or snowmen or, anything like that. We hear that joke all the time. It is a cycle of recycling your money. And we start here at the top. So we start at buy. You're going to buy a distressed asset under market value where there's room to increase the value by doing a renovation. So you do the renovation, you get it rented at, a market rate because now you have a nice renovated property. You take this little package to the bank and then they refi, they pay back all your initial investment. And then you have this money back now. Your lender has this money back now, and you just repeat the process over and over. So together, we're going to dig into each of these steps and exactly what you need to know to get through them. So like I said, if you have any questions as we go through, I would absolutely love to answer for you. Super conversational. So just any questions you have, throw them in the chat. All right. So the buy. Acquisition of a property under market value in need of repairs. And this is the foundational step. If you buy right, then the rest of the process is going to fall into place. If you overpay, you're going to get in some trouble down the road. So, everyone says in real estate, you make money on the buy, and that's exactly true. So where are we finding these properties that need work like this? Believe it or not, they are listed on the MLS. So if you have an agent representation, they can send you deals that meet your criteria. Anything on the MLS will have more competition, of course, just because there are more eyes on it. You can also work with wholesalers. So these are folks who are doing a lot of, direct to seller marketing all by themselves, and they are getting a property under contract, and then they can sell that contract for a fee. As long as the numbers make sense, then, we will pay whatever wholesale fee someone's asking. But off market, there's typically less oversight. And if you are newer to the process, it can be a little daunting to buy this way. There's also direct to seller marketing as a deal source. This is like the We Buy Houses. Instead of buying from a wholesaler, you're actually going straight to the seller yourselves. And it is a big undertaking. This is what, when I said I started wholesaling for the first couple of years, this is what I was doing. And it is a lot. It's a full-time job. So if you can swing it, it's a great way to get good deals, but it's really expensive and really time consuming. And then you have referrals, which are the holy grail because you have immediate trust with the seller. The only problem is that they are harder to come by. But if you get out there and you're networking, it's pretty common that you can find someone who knows that you buy houses and they'll send you a deal. So then once you find this deal, how are you actually going to pay for it? We have our traditional lending, which is kind of what I was doing to start. The benefit here is that everyone has access to these types of loans. As long as you have, good credit, then a lot of people can qualify. Once you start getting into hard money lender and private money lender, you get into, more experience investing or even needing a personal relationship. So hard money lender is basically an institution. It's not like a big bank like you're thinking, but they are financial institutions that specialize in high interest, short-term loans. And the goal is that you only have the money for a short amount of time because you're going to refinance and pay them off. Same thing with the private money lender, except instead of a financial institution, this is a personal relationship, a family friend, a coworker, someone with, we call dusty old money. They have some dusty old money sitting around that isn't making a lot of interest. So they are willing to, it's a win-win, right? They invest in you and then you pay them interest in return. So that's how you pay for these guys. And then you have to renovate it. So this is actually the process to increase the market value of the property that we call the ARV, after repair value, and increase the income potential, right? If you have a nicer property, you can rent it for more money. And your refi lender wants to see this. So it could be anything from a minor upgrade to an extensive overhaul. But what we focus on and what I teach everyone should be a priority is focus on function and safety. These are items, obviously safety is top because if you are sued, this whole house of cards could come falling right down. So these are things that are non-negotiable. Smoke detectors, fire extinguishers, GFCI outlets, asbestos. In our market, asbestos was a super common building material. So these are things that we're doing first and foremost. Function just means that everything operates as it should. Do the windows open? Does the hot water tank work? Is the plumbing and electrical sound? We focus on these first, and then we focus on cosmetics second. So when we're picking these cosmetics, how do we decide what to do? There's a term in investing called hardening the property. And this just means that you're not using any soft surfaces. And it's more expensive up front, but ultimately reduces turnover cost every time. So for example, if you put in carpet, it may be inexpensive, more and half the price of LVT flooring, but you're going to have to replace it every time the unit turns over. So you just spend the money up front to harden the property and to keep it good, for years and years and years. So things like tile backsplash in the kitchen, tile surrounds in the bathrooms. These are just things that we do ahead of time to like get ahead of some of the really common issues that we see with renters. And then another way we pick our finish is we standardize the scope. This is when you save time picking your finishes for every single project, you can go much faster, right? So you pick your finishes one time. And of course, SKUs come in and out, but for the most part, like this is what we use. This is the paint that we use. This is the flooring that we use. And you can shift materials between projects. So you can save by buying in bulk, and you don't actually even have to order the exact right amount per house, because if you have overages, you can just use it at your next property, right? So picking these finishes is critical to actually like have systems, processes, and to renovate any sort of properties at scale. So we have our nice little renovated unit, and now we have to get this baby rented out. So renting is so simple. You know this one. The act of leasing the property to tenants to generate a steady income stream, well-maintained, strategically located property will attract the most reliable tenants. And that is definitely true in our experience. So how are you going to get it rented? First, you have to determine your market rent. What are you able to charge? I get that question all the time. How much can I charge for rent? Well, you have to look at your comps. So just like comparable sales you would have for determining, a value of the property, you can also do rental comps to determine how much you can rent it for. Zillow, there's Rentometer, and you can also test the market. This is my favorite because if everything is telling me that I can get $1,250 for a property, I may start at $1,300. Let's just see what happens. I'm going to test the market, but I have a plan to step that price down if needed, if I'm not getting a lot of interest. Then we advertise the unit. So we've determined what we want to charge for it. Then we go to Zillow. Zillow for us, industry standard. Everyone who is, if you're doing for rent signs, you definitely can, but you may be getting people who are not qualified, who are not very tech savvy. We do everything using a software once someone's our resident. So we're looking for tech savvy people. So we like to advertise on Zillow because, they can already use a computer basically. Facebook Marketplace is another option and less ideal, but definitely an option. And then, so once you're advertising and you're getting interest, how do you have your showings? So a couple different ways. You can do like an open house where you have just anyone and everyone come. You can do a self showing where someone has access to the property like through a lockbox code. Or you could do pre-approved showings where you're still meeting them out at the property, but it's only after they have been pre-approved. They're all valid options, and I have tried all of them. Right now we're doing self-showings. I have been for years, and it's been great. But all of these are valid options for sure. So like I said, we use a property management software for everything. So we find our renter, we're onboarding them, and we want them to get onboarded into our software because it streamlines communication, reduces cost and mistakes, and it allows me as the property owner to outsource tasks to maintenance, to handy people, to my admin team. So by having it in a systemized way, I can reduce what I'm responsible for by outsourcing to my team. There are tons of softwares out there. These are some of the most common. We use Buildium. I started on Tenant Cloud. They're both great. And honestly, as long as they have these kind of key features, accept payments online, mass messaging, automated reporting makes it really easy for tax time. It makes it easy, if you need a tenant needs their ledger or statement. But I would highly recommend putting some software in place from day one. Everyone asks that. When should I put it in place? From day one, because then you have everything in one place and it's a beautiful thing. You have it rented, you have it, renovated, rented. Now it's time to refinance. So this is the process of going to a long-term lender, right? Before we were using high interest, short-term loans. And now we're going to a long-term lender with this nice little package that we created, a beautifully renovated house plus a market rate lease. And we're taking this to the new bank and we're saying, hey, how much do you think this is worth and how much will you loan against it? So obtaining a new mortgage based on the property's increased value, usually at a lower interest rate, and then pays off, frees up capital so you can do it again. When you are interviewing lenders, there are a ton of different loan types that you can look for, and I won't, go over all of them, but your lender would be the best resource for this. You just want to make sure you're asking them the right questions. So what types of loans? Is there a prepayment penalty? That's a really big one because rates are high right now. And there's, no one has a crystal ball, but the projection is that they should go down in the next couple of years. So if there's a prepayment penalty and you're locked into this high interest loan, so that's a big one right now. Balloon payment, max loan to value, how much will you loan against the property? Do you escrow taxes and insurance? As long as you're asking these questions, then you're going to be in good condition and they're going to help you decide what's best for you. Now it's time to repeat. So we got our new loan, it's long-term, we're stabilized, and then we're going to go and do this all again. So how do we do it? This is how you scale. So first you fill out your data management system. This is something internal facing that I highly recommend. Tracks your renovations, appraisals, inspections, any mortgage terms. And these are, it's a slow down to speed up that allows you to track everything in one place. And then when you need to, apply for loans in the future, you have it all in one place. You also want to complete a postmortem with your team, what went well, what didn't go well. If you used a calculator to underwrite your deal, you want to go back and compare what you estimated against what actually happened, because this, 30-minute to an hour process is going to be your biggest lesson learned. And potentially, it could take some time, but an hour now to save mistakes in the future is obviously like a no-brainer. So then you're going to do it all again. You have your money back, you've learned your lessons, and it's time to do it again. Okay, any questions so far? I know that is so much information, and go ahead and put them in the chat. If there's anything, I'm going to hop into kind of an example with real numbers of what this would look like. So you have your definitions here. I won't read them to you. From purchase to rehab, from purchase to refi, we're going to look at example one. So example one is, this is a Columbus, Ohio deal. This is something that I could still buy today. We purchase for $75,000. We put $25,000 into it. And then we have $5,000 holding costs, which is, your utility payments, taxes, and insurance during the time that it's under renovation, maybe some finance cost. So in this scenario, you are all in for $105,000. You take this nice new little package you created to your refi lender and you say, hey, what is this worth now? This is called your after repair value. So they come back and they say it's worth $140,000 and we will loan you, loan to value, 75% against it. So the new bank will give me $105,000. I'm all in it for $105,000. So look at this. My cash in or out of the deal is zero. This is what we call the perfect BRRRR. So that's one example. I just want to show, illustrate here that the same concepts apply even in more expensive markets. So maybe you buy for $230,000. You put $60,000 into it. Your holding costs may be more, but you're all in for $300,000. It's worth $400,000. Same 75% loan to value. 75% of $400,000 is obviously $300,000. Look at that. So you're in the exact same outcome, whether it's an inexpensive or a more expensive property. So the BRRRR process can work anywhere in the nation. We had a question from Donna Marie. Do we have a list of contractors that we always use, and how do we get a good contractor? Great question. So team building is crucial. I have contractors that I've used for years and years, and they know how I operate. I know how they operate. We have a really, really good working relationship, but my ear is always open if someone else is highly recommended. because you never know what's going to happen. So we always like to keep, whether it's your GC, plumber, electrician, insurance agent, I have my core team that I love, trust, but I'm always open to new suggestions because, like I said, you just never know what could happen. So I'm always looking for contractors, and my team knows this as well. Awesome. Great question. So we're at zero cash in the deal. Let's see what happens. These same two examples with your ongoing cash flow. So the mortgage on that first example, the market rent on that first example is $1,250. Like I said, this is a deal that we would buy in Columbus. This is right on par. Our debt service, which is your principal and interest, is $775. Taxes, insurance, and then we're saving money to the side in separate bank accounts for repairs, maintenance, vacancies. Okay. After all said and done, we're cash flowing $224 a month. That same example with $0 of your money in the deal. On example 2, it's a nicer property, so you can get more in rent. Your debt service, of course, will be higher because what you borrowed is higher. Taxes and insurance likely also higher. And then these are just percentages, so of course they're higher. So, about the same ballpark on where you can cash flow on these two examples. So yeah, that's the BRRRR. And I want to show you really the beauty of this. The beauty is the forced value or forced appreciation. And so everyone says why would I do all this work? I have to finance the property 2 separate times. I have to do a full renovation. I have to go find a renter. Why am I doing all of that work just for $200 a month? And I want to highlight that you did something in this BRRRR process that you may not have realized, okay? You created 25% of the value in free equity. You forced value to this property. In example 1, the ARV, the all-in cost, this should be, this is still correct, but the loan amount is $79,000. It's worth $105,000, and you've created $26,000 in equity, and that is your own money that's inside of this property, right? The next example, you owe, or it's worth $400,000. Your loan amount is only $300,000. You've created 6 figures worth of equity in the property by doing the BRRRR process because you have 0 of your own money in the deal. Yeah, Lizzie, that's exactly right. So building wealth and not necessarily building riches. You are building riches, but not on a day-to-day basis. The cash flow is great. We love cash flow, but cash flow of those initial reasons that we talked about, buying real estate, cash flow, principal reduction, natural appreciation, and tax advantages, of those 4, the least exciting is cash flow. Truly. So look what you did though. All your hard work, you created $100,000 in equity that when you go to sell this or refinance it down the road, you can tap into. That is the power of BRRRR. It's pretty incredible. If you were to put 20% down on the same deal, you would have bought at retail and you would have, yes, you would have some equity, but it's your own money that's creating the equity. This is equity you created out of thin air. I just want to, show the difference. And I know it's a lot to think about. Okay. Next steps to take action today. If you're like, Jesse, this is awesome. I cannot wait to start building my empire. I'm with you. I support you 100%. We have the Rentals Made Easy Mastermind, which is a 12-month mastermind program, mostly for people who already own real estate or are on a fast track. We have your 90-day challenge to buy your first rental. This is for folks who are looking for the accountability on a week-by-week basis with homework and everything to own a property from newbie to property owner in 90 days. And you guys probably all know about both of those. I have a huge announcement today. So I want to introduce you to the BRRRR for Beginners. It's a mini course. We have 65 on-demand mini lessons that go over every single thing we just talked about, plus so much more. It's about 3.5 hours of step-by-step content. Honestly, it's this slideshow, but on steroids. You also get face-to-face calls with me. They're, in a group setting, but Q&A calls twice every month. Exclusive access to a private Facebook community. Obviously, you're in our Facebook group now, but we have one, just for the mini course students that get attention, and you can ask your questions. You're going to get them answered same day. You can get access to all of this for $7 a month. Our BRRRR mini course, where I'm teaching you everything that we've talked about so far, $7 a month. I genuinely want everyone to understand the power of this method, because it's changed my life. It is real estate, and the BRRRR method has genuinely changed my life, my family's life, I've maybe one day future kids' life. So $7 a month, I want to teach it to you. Lizzie on our team, she is going to drop a link in the comments if you want to join us. We would love to have you. We have folks in there now who are having amazing, results. We just launched it to a couple of select folks just a few days ago, and we're getting really, really good feedback. So yeah, it is crazy value. So I would love to teach it to you. We're having good feedback in there, and would love to have you join the community. So if you want to join us, Lizzie just dropped the link, and we will see you inside. I am happy to hang out for a few more questions. Okay, what do we have? A couple came through. How do I know if a deal is a good deal or not? And when do I start the refi process? Great question. Great question. So how do you know if a deal is a good deal? There's a couple rules of thumb. So you may have heard of the 1% rule. You may have heard of MAO, which is maximum allowable offer. We actually have lessons on both of those in the mini course. And those are kind of like rules of thumb, just gut instinct checks to see, is it a property worth looking into further? But before you buy anything, to actually know if it's a good deal or not, we put everything through the BRRRR calculator. Like I said, we underwrite it, and then we have our postmortem afterwards. So there's 2 separate columns for what we thought was going to happen and then what actually happened. So I run everything through the calculator before I buy anything. So that's why I know if it's a good deal. And then when do we start the refi process? It depends on the lender that you use. You want to ask that question, what seasoning is required. And some lenders count seasoning from the day that you purchase the property, and some count it from the day that you got it rented. So you actually want to clarify this when you're asking about seasoning. I would start as soon as the renovation's complete and the renter is in place. I would start the refi as long as there's no seasoning period. I should also mention, you guys, we have kittens that we're fostering. So if anyone wants this adorable little kitten, her name's Autumn, and she's a little troublemaker. And if you want a kitten, it comes with a course. No, I'm just kidding. But we do have kittens if you're in Columbus. So I refinance as soon as those 2 things are available. Renovated property, no, and seasoning period set. So very cool. Thank you guys so much for coming. If you're watching the replay, you are still welcome to ask questions, and we'll get them answered right here. Udon is asking, what's the BRRRR calculator? So great question. It is a very detailed calculator of your buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. We factor in every single thing that you can imagine, and it spits out, is this a good deal or not a good deal? So yeah, like I said, if you're watching the replay, then definitely still ask your questions, and we'll get them answered, and would love to see you in the mini course. Thank you guys so much.